first of all, you should be in better shape than
It's not leather extra.
And second of all, you should give yourself more time. All right, so here we are. Are we all back? I hope so. All right, so here we go.
Not a whole lot. What?
Problem 11.
I really
We're almost done with this one. We'll start the next one. We're getting ready.
Synthetically.
Number 11, synthetically divide. Now, this is a tricky problem.
Negative 1.
We all know there's a negative 1 out here, but tell me about the numbers that go across.
There's 1.
1,
0.
Negative 3, 8, negative 2. Now, this is a gimme problem. Nobody should be missing this. I'm going to try to trick you. So be on the lookout. Anything that's missing has to have a 0. This number comes straight down. Here we go. Negative 1. Add. Positive 1. Add. All right, that's what I got. You keep going. Tell me if I made a mistake. It's very possible I made a mistake. So in the blank that says quotient goes this part. Well, what is it in this case? The quotient in this case is what? X to the what?
Third. Minus
Always one less than the problem. So it's x cubed minus x squared minus 2x plus 10. That's what goes in the quotient blank. In the remainder blank, you can just put negative 12. If you want to put it over x plus 1, that's okay, but that's optional. You can just put negative 12. Everybody got that? All right, now we've got this problem, and we know one of the factors. Okay? Anybody have any idea how we find the others? Grouping would be okay, but it doesn't work. You could do it that way, but you're making it harder than it is. In this case, they've already told you that one of the factors is x plus 2, which means one of the roots is what? Negative 2. They're telling you right up front, negative 2 works. So what should we do? Since we know negative 2 works, we're going to divide it out. If you have a root that you know works, divide it out. And sure enough, there we go. We divided it out. Now, all the things you said, well, grouping didn't work in this one, but all the other things you said, you could do, but it takes way more time. They're telling you this number works. So get it divided out, and then look at what's left. Right? And what's left? Well, it factors, doesn't it? How does it factor?
X plus 9, or minus 9.
Minus 9 plus 1. So what are the other two roots? They gave you negative 2. What are the two that you just found? 9 and negative 1.
I thought it was the other way around. Oh, wait, no. False. I lost myself.
Okay. One more and we're done with the test. We can start the next one. The height of the ball above the ground is given by this equation. And I want to hand back some papers too. The height of the ball above the ground, so this is the height, is this. We've seen this formula before. Find when the ball reaches its maximum height. All right. Now you're saying to yourself, Miss Ford, I'm not sure we ever talked about this. Oh, yes, we have. Think. This is a squared equation. Squared equations have what shape? Well, they're quadratics. They have what shape? What's x squared? Parabola. When you put a negative in front of that parabola, what happens to it? Upside down. So here I have an equation that graphs like this, and the question says find the maximum. Maximum. What do you think we're talking about if we want the maximum? Well, and what do we call the highest point? Oh my gosh. Starts with a V. The vertex. We want the vertex of this parabola. Now, we can either complete the square on this, or we can use our shortcut. And what's our shortcut again? X equals negative B over 2A, which is 1. So my vertex has an X value of 1. And then how do I get the Y value? How do I get the Y value? Plug it in. So that would be negative 16 plus 32 minus 4, which is 12. Double check that for me. I think that's right. Now, in this equation, this part, which is the Y, stood for height. So see that 12 right there? That 12 is 12 feet high. The T's are the X's, right? So what does that mean? 1 second, minute, whatever the unit of time is. Does it say in the problem? No. So pick a unit. I'm going to say seconds. So that's 1 second. Now the question says find when the ball reaches its maximum height. What's the answer? 1 second. When would you ever say 12 feet? What would be the question if we were going to say 12 feet? What is the maximum height? The vertex, anytime the word maximum is there, you're finding the vertex, okay? And sometimes you want the X and sometimes you want the Y. You just have to read the question. This says when, this says how high. Okay? All right, practice test 2. Here we go. Oh, wow, we're going to start right in with that problem on practice test 2. That's good. So it says, all right, now I'm not going to be confused by the fancy equation. I'm not going to be confused because it's a word problem. I'm going to zero in on one word, maximum, vertex. I can find the vertex however I want. I'm going to use my shortcut. X equals negative B over 2A. Negative B over 2A. This time I got 2. Did you? So my vertex, here's my parabola opening down. My vertex is 2 comma. And how do I get the comma what part? Plug in 2. 2 squared is 4. Times negative 16 is negative 64. Plus 128 plus 6. I'm plugging in 2. So what is that? 64 plus 6. 70. Find the maximum height of the ball. 70 feet. This question's different. This time we want the height, which is the y. What's the 2 mean? What's that?
Second.
2 seconds. That's when it reaches its highest point. So if it says when, you say 2. If it says how high, you say 70. Got it? What does maximum mean you're looking for? Vertex. X equals negative b over 2a. Don't make it hard. It isn't. All right, number 2. We just did one like this. Anybody remember? We're going to do division. And when we divide, we're going to divide out. Did you turn that on, Chris?
Yeah.
Thank you. We're going to divide out the one they gave us. So what am I going to put in the box?
Or 3.
3, positive 3. And I have 1, 1, negative 17, 15. And I am very careful to put zeros in anytime I divide. If something's missing, put zeros in. Drop this 1 straight down. Here we go. Should I be expecting a 0 there? Every time. Every time. If they have given you a factor, you better get a 0. If you don't, either you screwed up or it's not a factor. They're trying to trick you. I won't. Purposeful. What's the left? X squared plus 4x minus 5. What am I going to do with that? Factor it. How does that one factor?
X plus 5. X
Plus 5 minus 1. The question was, what are the other 2 roots? Or, oh, wait. It says find the factors. Here they are. Find the other factors. There they are. What would this be? Negative 5 and 1 are find the other roots. Those are the dots you actually put on the number line. Okie dokie smokies?
Oh.
Alright, use synthetic division. Now I warned you, I'm going to try to trick you. Look at this problem. Yep, out of the box goes a 1. Tell me about the numbers across the top. 4, 0, negative 3, 0, 9, 2. I am tricky. Alright, double check my arithmetic. Make sure I didn't make any careless errors. Anybody get the same thing I did? So I need a quotient and a remainder. What's my quotient? 4x to the what? 4th. It's always 1 less than the problem. So 4x to the 4th plus 4x to the 3rd plus 1x squared plus 1x plus 10. And in the remainder blank, I'm going to write 12. Okay? Everybody okay with that?
Reverse osmosis.
All right, now what? Number 4, write the equation. This is the one we did right before lunch. We had a little bit of trouble with it. Let's see if we can remember how to do this. What are we going to start with?
6 equals.
No, not yet. First, we're going to start with our parentheses. You probably already have this down.
X plus 2.
Or I got to start with my parentheses. So I'm going to have x plus 2 and x x minus 3 and x minus 5? Would everyone agree with that? Now, before you go one step farther, there's going to be an n out here, and something might be squared. Is anything squared?
Yeah.
Which one?
The 5.
X plus 2 is
Two,
squared,
yep.
and the x minus 5 is squared. Do you see the picture bouncing off of both of those?
Famous.
No, I'm not. It's my family. Yeah. Well, yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh my gosh. How do I turn it off? Okay,
Let's just FaceTime.
so now what do we do?
I'm with it. Teaches some synthetic division.
Now we plug in our point. 6 for the y and 1 for all the x's. Now remember, in a couple days you're going to be doing this by yourself for grade.
I wasn't sure.
Here we go. So 6 equals n times. All right, 1 plus 2 squared is 9. 1 minus 3. Uh-oh, 1 minus 5 squared. This is going to be a big number. What do we get? No, yes, we do. I got 288. Negative. But I'll let somebody with a calculator double check my work. Am I right? So then I'm going to divide, and I get negative 6 over 288, which I will reduce down to negative 1 over 48, I think. So my answer is y equals negative 148, x plus 2 squared, x minus 3, x minus 5 squared. When's your homework due, by the way?
Tomorrow.
All right, ready? Go to number 5. What's happening there?
Huh? I would like to thank you.
All right, number 5 is the other way around. We have our equation. We're going to find the roots.
Whoops. Oh, we don't even, dang it, we do have to put that. Oh, we gotta leave dark tomorrow though.
All right? Yeah. We want to
I'll
get
send it to you.
as much of this done as we can, because when we don't get done, it becomes more homework, and I don't want to do that to
So,
you.
you feel me?
So here we go. PRRs. It says list the possible rational roots. What are the PRRs? Plus or minus? 4, 2, 1. Here we go. That's it. That's all there are. Now it says find them. So these are our possibilities. Morgan's back there saying, I'm working ahead and I know 2 works. So I'm going to take Morgan's word for it. Remember, if something works, you are to divide it out. And Morgan is correct. Morgan discovered that 2 works. Now, Morgan's not going to be sitting next to you when you take the test, so you're going to have to do that on your own. So John, you're going to plug in 1, and it's not going to work. And you're going to plug in negative 1, and it's not going to work. You're going to plug in 2, and it's going to work. So what do we do the minute it works? We divide it out. Now, what's left? What's left when I divide it out? Quincy? I don't, yes, you can answer the question, but what I really want is you to quit talking.
Sorry.
What's left here, Quincy? This was an x cubed to start with, so what's left here? X
X
squared plus 4x plus 2. Now, what do you want to do with that? Your job is to find the other roots. So what are you going to do? Yeah, absolutely, you're going to factor if it factors. It doesn't factor.
Quadratic.
So what do? The quadratic formula. Now, Quincy asked the question, will one like this be on the test? There's been one on both of our practices so far. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yes. You need to know the quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. This one's a little harder than the last one. What does this radical part turn out to be? The square root of what? 8. Now, what about the square root of 8? What? It's 2 root 2? And the reason that it's 2 root 2, kids, is 8 is 4 times 2, right? And what's the square root of 4? 2? And then, oh my gosh, what about this guy? Pay attention, look carefully, what do you notice?
Oh, they're divisible.
They're dividable, yeah. We can get rid of the 2's in all 3 spots. So we'll have negative 2 plus or minus root 2 over 1, which you don't have to put the over 1 part. It says find the roots. There are 3 answers to this problem. There's these 2. What's the other one? Tall? That number, the one you guessed. Don't forget about him. You have your 2 that Morgan guessed, and then you've got the 2 that came, you've got the number 2, the one root, the number 2 from Morgan, and then we've got the other 2 roots from the quadratic formula. Okie dokie smokies?
Yeah.
Factor and sketch. Now, just like there's going to be one of these on the test, there's going to be a groupable problem on the test, you guys. One of the questions will group. You don't have to group it, but I'm telling you, it goes a lot faster if you do. That one groups. Let's see how it works. Now, I did that pretty fast. First 2 terms, I can take out x squared. Last 2 terms, I can take out a negative 4, which leaves me with x plus 5. So there's my common factor, and then I've got this x squared minus 4 stuff, which factors into x plus 2, x minus 2. Now, if you don't notice that it groups, or you are really uncomfortable with that procedure, can you do PRRs on that problem? Yeah, sure you can. You can guess numbers and divide if that makes more sense to you. Now, the directions said factor and sketch. So the factoring's done. Here are the factors. How do I go about sketching it now?
A point at -5, 0, -2, 0, and 2, 0.
Thank you, Marvin. Now, is anything squared in this problem? No. So that means as I connect the dots, everything's just going to go right through smoothly. It is a cubic function, which means it starts down. So it's a very simple one. Nobody has issues with that. Nothing tricky or fancy. Not like number 7 that's tricky and fancy. How about number 6? Are we okay with 6? Daisy's nodding her head. Deshani's got her head down on the chalk ledge back there. All right, here we go, number 7. I'm gonna sketch it. So step 1, just like Marley just did for us, we're gonna put some dots on the x-axis. So our dots are going to be at 1, at -4, and at 3. Now what's the next thing I think about? What's the next thing I think about?
Your lines.
Where do I start?
Yeah.
Is it is it even or odd degree? Well, let's look. We got 5 of them, so it's another odd, which means it starts down here. Now, what does it do when it gets to that factor?
Go through.
Goes through. And it goes through because at x plus 4, we aren't squared. So it just goes right through.
Bounce off.
At that point, it's going to bounce off. Everybody see? Because that's x minus 1 squared. What's it do at this point?
Bounce off.
Bounce off again because that's x minus 3 squared. This one is x plus 4. It isn't squared, so it goes right through. Goes through, bounces, bounces. Number 8. Pressure varies inversely as volume. Pressure varies inversely as volume. I need an equation to get started. Is it P equals KV or P equals K over V?
Option
K over.
Over. Inversely. P equals K over V. Pressure varies inversely as volume. P equals K over V. If the pressure is 80, the volume is 16. So K equals 80 times 16, which is what? Hannah? What you got for 80 times 16? 1280. So K is 1280. That is not the answer to the question. The question is, find the pressure when the volume is 40. I have a K value, I have a V value, I'm going to evaluate that. What is 1280 over 40? That reduces, that's something. Is it 32? Those are the problems that you miss because you don't go through step by step. So slow yourself down, make sure you write the formula, then find K, then answer the question. Okay? I know you're just dying to get out of here, but we want to pass this test too. Wouldn't it be great to start the quarter off?
Yup.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. I bet they're talking about math now.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
Count it up.
All right, here we go. This does not factor by grouping. Now, you can try it if you want, but it won't work. So the problem kind of gives you a clue. It says list the possible rational roots. So what would they be? Our PRRs this time would be plus or minus 2. Well, it's pretty more than 1, 2, 4, and 8 over 1. All right, we gotta find them. We gotta find the factors. Here we go. Anybody find one yet?
I'm gonna say 2.
2? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and divide it out, Chris, hoping you're right.
Me too.
That was in a pun.
You are, you lucky duck. Good job. So one of your factors is x minus 2. Good job. He guessed 2. It worked. Everything's fine. What's left, Austin Kendrick? Right here. What's left? Perfect. Now, does that one factor? Remember, at this point, we try to factor, but it doesn't always work. Does that one factor?
Yeah.
Yes? Into x
Plus 1.
plus 1 plus 4. So here are your factors. The question says find the factors. Here they are. We got the first one by guessing. And then we got the others by doing the division. Now we're going to sketch it. So we did a lot of this today. We're going to put a dot at 2, a dot at -1, and a dot at -4.
Wait, so from the start of the problem, you can tell how many you need based on
Yep.
the variable,
Yep, based on the degree.
the degree of
Yep.
the variable.
Yep.
Okay.
Because remember, Quincy, you're gonna, if you wanted to, you could FOIL all this back together, and you'd have an x times an x times an x, which would give you an x cubed. All right, so everybody got dots on there?
Yep.
Now, anything squared?
Nope.
Yep. Start down, end up, just zip, 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 and there we go. All right, so somebody tomorrow, remind me, actually, I'll just do it. I'll make a mark. We're gonna pick up at problem 10 tomorrow, and we'll get done hopefully with, now wait, don't go anywhere.
Homework tomorrow.
Homework's due tomorrow, so I'll see you tomorrow. So tomorrow, we're gonna finish up the practice test, and then we're gonna have a test on Thursday. Cause I don't see you on Friday, I don't think. I see you either Thursday or Friday, I'm not sure which day it is.
Thursday. I believe it's Thursday.
Thursday? Okay. We have a different schedule.